everyone. Welcome to another episode of We Don't Watch Movies.
Yay!
Featuring me, Corinne.
And me, Monze.
Woo. All
Whoa.
right. Today, we are talking about a movie I've seen, Monze hasn't seen, which I'm honestly surprised you haven't seen this movie. I do think you want to see it. It's Palm Springs.
Wait, is this a holiday movie?
No.
Oh, so we did a two holiday movie
holiday
series, so it wasn't much of a series. So we've been lying. What you're telling me is we've been caught in a lie that I didn't know we were lying about, and now I'm distraught.
Do you want me to pick a holiday movie?
No, it's fine. It's fine.
We built the schedule together.
Where I thought you picked that movie because it was holiday themes. I didn't ask questions. I was like, oh, they picked a holiday themed movie I haven't seen. Apparently, no.
No, although I could talk my ass off about Polar Express because I've seen that movie too many times. But I think you've seen it.
I have seen it. I watched it in the 8th grade, and then I blocked it out because I hated it.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's the movie, Palm Springs. I feel like we could spin it to be kind of holiday.
All right, whatever. We're not going to spin anything. I just assumed it would be in the holly jolly spirit, but that's okay.
No. Oh, although it takes place in November, so it's winter. It's a winter movie. It's just in the desert, so. Anyways. So yes, we're going to talk about Palm Springs. Which is not a holiday movie, but it can be if you want it to be. It's either that or we're going to talk about Cats, which is also not really a holiday movie, but I associate it with Christmas because that's when I saw it.
Because it came out during the winter.
Yeah.
That Christmas season.
Did we already talk about Cats? I feel like we did.
I talked about it with someone.
Yeah. I think we talked about Cats already. Anyways, regardless, we're talking about Palm Springs. So, hope you enjoyed our 2 Christmas episodes, and then now we're back to
our mini series. Apparently, no one had me an update. Apologies.
Yes. Anyways,
for Corinne making me a liar.
Anyway, we can literally talk about another movie.
It's fine. We are doing Palm Springs.
Okay, cool. Monty, why haven't you seen Palm Springs?
Is this the one with the guy from Brooklyn Nine-Nine? What's his name?
Andy Samberg.
Don't tell me his name. You told me his name.
I said it right when you said don't tell me his name. So there's nothing I could have done.
You said his name. Okay. Yes, with Andy Samberg and a girl who I think I might know, but I don't know if I know.
I don't know if you know either.
Okay, what's her name?
Kristen Milioti.
No, I have no idea who she is. Okay. I don't know. I do like Andy Samberg. I think he's genuinely funny.
Yeah.
Side note, I don't know if he was in this, but this thought popped in my head like a few days ago, and it's popping in my head now. I don't think SNL is funny.
You don't think it was or is?
Is or was. I don't think it has ever been funny.
Ooh.
I have never seen... Hot take!
I know.
Probably one of the hottest takes. But I have never found it funny.
Interesting.
I even watching a single clip, you're like, oh my god, the funniest thing happened on SNL. And I watch it and I'm like, when's it gonna get funny? I've never found it funny. And I don't think he was on SNL. I don't know if he was a member. Andy Samberg.
He was in Lonely Island, which was part of SNL.
Okay, yeah. Whatever. I don't even know what that is.
Oh, he was just straight up on SNL. Yeah, so he was
a member. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, I think he is genuinely funny because I've seen his other like projects, and I think he is a funny person.
Yeah.
And I think he's fairly handsome.
Yes.
I think he's a fairly handsome young man.
He's a bit of a sleeper hit, handsome guy.
He's a sleeper hit. I agree. The first look, you're like, oh, I don't know. Like, but then he's funny, he's charming, he seems like a nice guy, and you're like, wow, what a handsome young man.
What a handsome gentleman.
What a handsome young gentleman.
Yes. No, I agree.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting, and then when it hits you, it's like you never.
When it hits you, man, does it hit you? You're like, whatever, and then you're like,
it's
like,
over for you. You can never go
the
back.
awakening. Yes. So yeah, I remember seeing the poster, someone where they're like on the little floaties in the pool or something. Yeah, and thinking, oh, this might be something I might watch eventually, but I just never got around to it. Mm-hmm. So my roundabout answer, just never got around to it.
Never got around to it. Speaking of Andy Samberg, he with The Lonely Island just released a new song, I think yesterday or the other day. It is really funny. Charlie XCX is in it. Have you it? Because Jesse sent it to me because he likes The Lonely Island, and initially I was like, oh my god, wow, like my life is saved, because he sent it to me after like a slew of like distressing political news and was like, on better news, The Lonely Island released a new song, and I'm like, you're right, this has fixed everything. But then I watched it. It's genuinely really good. It's about like a white guy who likes to call the cops on his neighbors, but he only calls the cops on his white neighbors. So
that is funny. I really love the premise. See, like he's funny.
Yeah.
Like he gets it.
Yeah.
Like it's good.
It's so funny. And Charlie XCX's verses are also hilarious. Like then they sing well together. It's well produced. It like looks pretty good. So he's moved. He's come a long way from jizz in my pants. Let's put it that way. So it's a pretty funny song. I recommend it. Okay. What do you think happens in this movie?
I think I remember you telling me that this was a time loop movie.
Mm-hmm. I don't think I told you all the details. I told you some.
No, I think that's all you told me. Mm-hmm. So, what's this movie? Palm Beach. Whatever.
Palm Springs.
Okay. Palm Springs.
Palm Beach. That's the other coast.
I don't know. I think they're going to a wedding.
Okay.
I think you told me. I don't know if this is right. I think you told me they're going to a wedding. I don't know if this is right. And I think these two may or may not know each other. Oh, God. Okay. All right. If I was writing this movie, this is the way this movie.
Okay, yeah. Let's hear Monty's version of the movie.
Yeah, Monty's version of this movie. If it was a time loop and there was a wedding. Okay. So these two, let's say they dated in high school or college or something. Whatever. They broke up. Mm-hmm. Time moved on. They never really thought about each other. They're like, I'm grown as a person. Whatever. But life has not turned out the way they have wanted their life to turn out. Right? Maybe he wanted to be, I don't know, something like a rock star, and instead he like is a floor manager at Macy's or something. Mm-hmm. And she was like, I'm going to become a doctor, right? And she never became a doctor. Maybe she's, I don't know, maybe she works in a nursing home doing something she doesn't even like. I don't know, whatever. It's sort of there but not there, right? And they get a wedding invitation to their friend, maybe a mutual friend, or maybe she's like friends with the bride, he's friends with the groom, whatever. Like back in high school, like, hey guys, let's get the gang back together, whatever. So they're like, we're gonna have our wedding. It's gonna be in Palm Springs. Palm Springs, you said? Yeah. Palm Springs. We've booked this cool, really resort hotel, whatever. I don't even know what Palm Springs is in Florida.
California.
California, whatever.
It's literally like 3.5 hours away from Los Angeles.
And you never took me, so
you never wanted to go.
I didn't know it existed. So, shit. Where was I? Okay, yeah. And they're like, all right, yeah, let's go, whatever. And they go and they show up and they're like, oh, it's you, Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah.
And they're both pretending like, oh yeah, my life turned out super great. And my life also turned out like super great or whatever.
Yeah, classic.
But they get caught in their lies. And I don't know, I guess maybe it's like the bachelor party, the bachelorette party, and then it's the wedding. And maybe everything goes wrong and everything goes bad. Mm-hmm. So like maybe it turns out like one of them slept with someone, or like some like, you know, I don't know, an ex shows up, like there's just a bunch of fighting. And something weird happens. Like maybe they had a run in with someone, or they touched something magical infused, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. Anyway, they wake up the next morning the same way they woke up that morning of the wedding, and they're like, oh, this is like super weird. Like, maybe it's just deja vu.
Mm-hmm.
And they just are basically kind of going through that cycle until they learn something. I don't know what. Maybe they're like, hey, maybe they realize that they work really well together. Like, maybe that's the thing. Like, maybe it's not necessarily like they're getting back together. Maybe it is. But, like, they realize that a part of what they were missing in their life was, like, this friendship that they had with one another, where, like, they felt like they finally have someone who gets them. Whether it's a romantic way or not romantic way, I don't really care at this point.
Right.
And they realized that kind of what was causing these problems was them, like, being at each other's throats. So as they slowly start to get to know each other again and become friends again or whatever, they start to fix everything. And then they find, like, we fixed it. It's, like, perfect. They wake up the next day. But then, I don't know, maybe it's not another time loop, but maybe that couple really wasn't supposed to end up together in the end. They're like, we knew it! Or whatever nonsense it is. And that's the end of the movie. Interesting.
Okay. Not really.
That's okay. I don't fucking know.
No, that's totally fine. There's like the time loop part is kind of similar, but the rest of it not really. But that's okay. Let me find the trailer.
I haven't even seen like a trailer, so I don't have to.
Yeah, I feel
I'm only going off the poster and what you told me that it was time loop.
Yeah. So like, I saw this movie merged to me on my smart TV. And I was like, someone told me this movie
Advertising really works.
Yeah. And I was like, someone told me this movie was good. And I think Jesse had already seen the movie at this point. But then I erroneously thought it was a different movie that I think Aubrey Plaza is in that came out years prior. And then I also get it confused with the Keanu Reeves Winona Ryder movie. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Because for some reason. I
also wanted to see that one. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either. So I was like, let me watch this. And I was expecting it to be like some fun rom-com, whatever sort of thing. And then it takes a turn like 20 to 30 minutes in. I was like, what is happening? And I stopped and read the Wikipedia article and then resumed. So.
Okay. Yeah, that's good to know, because I would have gone in with the exact same thing, and I probably would have turned it off and never gone back.
Yeah, I'm glad I finished it, because I almost was like, I don't know if I want to finish this, but then I watched it, and it was good. Also, Andy Samberg. He is so good looking in this movie. He's so cute. He's so handsome in this movie. This is the movie where I was like, I can never go back. Like, he is so fine in this movie. Okay.
Oh, it is a wedding. I love the song.
Here you are, standing on the precipice of something so much bigger than anyone here. But always remember, you are not alone.
I don't think that we met. I'm Sarah.
Niles.
Hi.
Hi.
Niles.
I haven't seen this trailer.
What?
So.
Time after time. What? He could shot by an arrow? What?
This is where I was like, what is happening?
Oh my god.
Don't come in here.
Where is he? Oh, who they get sentenced to? Interesting.
Well, if I saw this trailer, I'd be less confused.
It's all the same.
What is going on? Hey, get out of the water!
Oh!
Guess you followed me. It's one of those infinite time loop situations you might have heard about.
That I might have heard about.
Yeah.
Wait, he already knows about it?
The second you fall asleep, it all just goes back to the start.
I drove all the way back home to Austin, and I still woke up here.
One time I smoked a bunch of crystal and made it all the way to Equatorial Guinea. It was a huge waste of time.
Oh my god.
Well, then what's the point of living?
We kind of have no choice but to live.
No, I'm gonna get out of this.
Suit
Okay.
yourself. See you tomorrow.
Oh. 100% tomato meter?
You just have to embrace the fact that nothing matters.
Do you sleep with people in here?
Great question. I have, but it takes a lot of work. May I cut in? It's the first dance. And that's a deal breaker.
That didn't work. Let's waste some time.
A madly inventive comedy. Okay. He just killed that woman?
She fell out of the plane. Or the
Oh.
least you have each other. Nothing worse than going through this shit alone.
True. Oh, is that guy also in the loop?
There's a bomb in the cake. Don't worry, I used to be a bomb guy. Stand back!
What the hell?
It's gonna be a beautiful wedding.
Okay.
Alright, so that trailer would have helped me understand what was going on, but I didn't watch that trailer before I watched it.
Yeah, I didn't watch a single trailer.
Alright, do you want to revise your
What
synopsis?
Is this? Love Hurts? World's Best Boss. Ugh, I love him. He's so cute. Okay. Sorry, I saw the trailer for Love Hurts with Kiwi Kwan.
Oh,
His
yeah.
name. And
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
just so adorable. I loved him when he was a child, and I love him now.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, so what I think happens is that Andy Samberg's character is already in a time loop.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, there's a wedding, whatever. She's
Yeah.
there, whatever. And they hook up, and as they're hooking up, he gets shot, and I guess maybe he is crawling away into some weird time loop thing,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, "Don't come in here," and I think it is.
Bless you, bless you, bless you, bless you. Bless you. Yeah, I thought that.
Jesus Christ!
I had a feeling. I was like, I think there's one more.
There's one more in me. And I feel like I have another one too. Oh, and anyway, the scene where he's like, "Don't follow me," and she follows him, and she gets stuck in that time loop. And it's like that first day, everyone thinks it's just maybe it's deja vu.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the second day is when she gets fucking pissed and like starts yelling at him, and that's when he explains what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And she keeps trying to find ways out of it, and he's like, "Just embrace it, man." She's like, "No." And then I guess maybe they just start doing random shit because what's the point? Nothing matters.
Mm-hmm.
But it's driving her like he's accepted like the nihilism of it all.
Yeah.
And she's like, "I cannot do this."
Yeah.
She really cannot do it. And so they're just trying to find ways to make life fun and interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And as they're together, they realize even though we're living the same day, it doesn't feel the same because I'm with you. The end.
That one's a little closer.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And there's another guy who's also in a time loop. That old guy whose name I forgot.
J.K. Simmons. Yeah.
Mm.
Love J.K. Simmons. All right.
Love me a good JK.
Yeah. We need at least one good one.
Yep.
All right. So I've got the synopsis here, but I'll also just speak for what I remember. So
I got the synopsis here.
I got the synopsis here. So yeah, it's November 9th. They're in Palm Springs. We see like the opening shot. It's like, oh, it's someone's wedding. And Niles, who's Andy Samberg, he wakes up. And the way he wakes up and like his girlfriend is getting ready. She's like the bridesmaid or one of the wedding guests or something. Like she's the friend of the bride or something. And
so he's got a girlfriend.
Yeah, he has a girlfriend. It's that blonde girl who was like, oh my god, whatever. So he like wakes up, and of course you don't know what's going in, so he just seems very like, okay, like whatever. And they have morning sex, but then he kind of like doesn't do great at it or whatever. He seems like weirdly detached. It seems like he just doesn't want to be at the wedding, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And she's like, how do I look? How does this, like, da-da-da-da? And he's like, you look fine, as always, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, okay. And then he goes to the wedding reception, and the two people are Tala and Abe. And Tala's sister, Sarah, is the other woman we see. So she's the maid of honor. And
she's the sister of the bride?
Yeah, she's the sister of the bride, and she, like... She's like not doing great. It's kind of clear that she's like the dark horse of the family, that she's considered like the fuck up sister. She's depressed. I think she like drinks too much. You know, like she's not doing good. And the family is like not helping either with how they talk to her. But it's her sister's day and she loves her sister, right?
Yeah.
And I think she's supposed to give like some speech or something. But then, and she's kind of bombing it. So then Andy Samberg comes in and gives this, like, beautiful wedding speech, you know?
Yeah.
And she, afterwards, and he's kind of, like, looking at her, like, he's, like, dancing and making eyes at her, and she's like, no. He's like, okay, and he, like, leaves, sort of thing. And, like, he really just has this, like, nonchalant, like, whatever attitude, you know, about everything. And after the wedding speech, he, like, goes up to her, and she's like, that was a really beautiful wedding speech. And he was like, yeah, you know, like it's no big deal, sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And she mentioned something about, like, it's as if you've been to, like, a million weddings or whatever. And he's like, you have no idea, sort of, like. And what I love about the script is, like, because I had no idea going in that there was a time loop in this movie. Like, the dialogue doesn't feel suspicious or anything. Like, it totally feels completely natural, like something someone might say. And I was very like, oh, what's his history? Like, what has he been through, you know, et cetera, right?
Oh my god, I want to know who he is.
Yeah,
I want to know who this
exactly.
guy is.
It's like, I want to know what's going
on.
Fix him. Don't call me out like this. But the script writing is very good. It's very natural, but still, like, kind of stylized. You know, it's just very good and funny. And he also, like, they kind of have, like, some vibe going on. She's like, aren't you, like, dating?
With that girl?
Yeah, that girl. And he's like, yeah, about that. And then there's, like, this scene, like, they're, like, kind of looking through this window, and you see his girlfriend hooking up with
somebody else,
like the man of honor or something like that, like the
the
best
groom?
man, the Asian cowboy hat guy.
Oh, with the cowboy hat.
I think it's him that she, like, hooks up with, like, the officiant or whoever. So they see, and she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. And he's like, yeah, it is what it is, you know.
Yeah. How many times have I seen this?
Exactly. Like, the shock of it has already, like, gone away. But he's
worn
like,
off for him.
Yeah, it seems like it gives off the impression that he's known that she's not faithful. So he's like, so I don't care if this is happening. Do you want to just bang? Yeah. So they go out. They leave the party. He's like, you want to get out of here? She's like, yeah, let's get out of here. So they get out, and they also talk. They have, like, different. They kind of exchange, like, philosophies on life and love or whatever sort of thing, right? They go out to the desert, and they start, like, getting ready to do the do. But then, out of nowhere, he gets shot by an arrow, and I was like, what is happening here? I was not expecting this. I was like, I knew this was an R, but I thought this was going to be, like, a graphic nudity and profanity R, not a violence R. Which, it's not very graphic, but it is, like, sudden. Yeah. And then, and it's like, what? And then you see this, like, masked man in the desert chasing him. And they're like, and she's like, oh my god, what is happening? And he's like, I gotta, like, go. And he's telling me, like, don't follow. He's going to this, like, cave glowing thing. And he's like, don't follow me. But, of course, she follows him. And she's like, ah. And then she wakes up. So now we're following her perspective. And her perspective, she's, like, in this hotel room. Like, she wakes up. She's like, oh my god. And she, like, runs out and, like, learns that it's, like, the same thing. And that's where we see her, like, stomping out. And she's, like, screaming at him, like, what did you do to me? And, like, is throwing beer cans at him in the pool. And he's like, I told you not to follow me. And she, like, dives in there and is, like, trying to, like, choke him in the pool. And then we see them, like, outside. And he's like, okay, so you went into the time loop. And when he mentions, like, that you've heard of, and she's like, that I've heard of, he's talking about, like, well, you know the concept of a time loop. That's what we're in right now. It's like Groundhog Day, right?
Yeah, Groundhog Day. Come on, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
The first movie to tell us about time loops.
Exactly. So then I think on this day, like, something happens where, like, her sister, like, steps out, but then she, like, trips and, like, falls face first onto, like, the pool concrete and, like, loses her front 2 teeth and, like, her nose is, like, broken. She's like, yeah! And Sarah's like, oh my god, what did I just do? This is all my fault. But then, of course, she goes to sleep and it starts over. He's like, it doesn't matter because we're gonna do it all over again. So she's like, I'm gonna get out of here. I have to get out of here. I have to get out of this time loop. And he's like, okay, whatever. And that's where she, like, drives, like, nonstop to get, you know, home, but then she falls asleep and wakes up. And then she tries, like, killing herself, and that's where they're like reckless driving and everything, and none of it works. And he's like, yeah, I've literally already done all of this. Like I've literally done everything that you're doing right now. It's just a matter of like how you're gonna wear yourself out, right? And then he mentions, because sometimes they get chased by this man, and they're like, who is this man? And he's like, so
the guy with the arrow.
Yeah.
Guy. Okay.
And he reveals it's J.K. Simmons, who is a wedding guest. It's like someone's like uncle or whatever. And he was like, yeah, I met him at a wedding, and like we did drugs, and he seemed really cool, and it was still pretty early, so I showed him the time loop. But then he got stuck in the time loop with me, and like he has like a family, his kids like never age. So he's angry because he's been in there for a while. So he's just killing him for revenge, just, to make him feel better, sort of thing. Like he knows he comes back, but he's still mad at him, right? So like that's what they do. And again, she's like trying to get out, and he's like, whatever, man, just embrace it. So like he talks about like how he's seduced so many people and like had sex with like just about everybody. He's like, yeah, it's like none of it matters. So it's like I've had sex with everyone. I've had sex with the groom, with the best man, with anybody. And I think they even show like the bride's father, if I'm not mistaken. Like he's literally going around just like, hey, like any women, blah, 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 blah. And at one point she's like, so have you had sex with me before the other day? And he was like, no. But then the way he says it, it's kind of like, I don't think you're being honest. But anyways, he's like, no. So then she like kind of resigns herself to it, and she decides to like be like him and just be like carefree, reckless. They start doing.
Oh my God,
How did that cattail taste?
Yeah, I have hair in my mouth.
Yeah. So they.
You see, it's just.
Yeah. So they start doing like really risky behavior. They go to like a local bar and they like get into fights or play things or whatever. She throws that like birthday party thing for him. And she's like standing on the top of the car and like falls over. Like they're just doing anything. And also sometimes he goes to like, because they're at like a vacation rental, and then there's like another vacation rental next to them. And that pool is always open, and he often hangs out at that pool when he just doesn't want to deal with the day. And he's like, yeah, the family, like, they don't come back today, so the pool's basically, it's like a free pool, so I just chill here whenever I want if I don't want to deal with them, because it just doesn't matter. I can do whatever I want. There's no consequences whatsoever, sort of thing, right? So she's like, okay, and they start doing that. And, of course, they're spending a lot of time together, and they're the only ones going through this experience together. They get close, and they start thinking, like, oh, today do you want to do this? Today do you want to do that sort of thing, right?
Yeah,
and they can kind of do anything without any consequences. So then one night, they camp out in the desert, and they get high, they have sex. They talk about, like, seeing dinosaurs or whatever in the desert and stuff. They have, like, this nice evening. But then the next day, because they stayed up so late, Sarah sleeps in, and then we see that she gets woken up by the groom. So every day, she wakes up in the groom's bed because the night before the wedding, she had slept with the groom. Yes.
She slept with her sister's
fiance.
Husband to be.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yes. So, which was, like, unfortunate. I wish I hadn't.
Reveal.
I know. Like, I had read the article and the IMDb to, like, prepare myself for, because I wasn't sure how much more violent it was going to get. But then I read this twist, and I was like, oh, I really wish I hadn't read that. Because it was, like, the way they revealed it. Because it's, like, she's always rushing out of that room. Like, every time she wakes up, she's always like, rushing out of it. They never reveal the entire room. Because, like, with Niall, like, they show the whole room, they show the whole getup, et cetera, et cetera. They never show it with her. They just show her running in from somewhere. She, like, immediately has to get out. Like, she looks at the clock, she's like, shit, I gotta get up, So now we understand also why she's so desperate to, like, get out, and also, like, her worldview, and, like, why she's, got depression and all this stuff, right? And it's this, right? So we learn again that they had sex, and he is kind of like tells her, like, okay, so, like, you need to leave. So she gets out. And because she's, like, confronted by it, I guess more directly this time, she's, like, filled with guilt.
Oh, so it's, like, woken up, like, a minute earlier in the time loop, is what you're saying.
Well, it's like she slept in, so he woke her up to be like, you gotta get out of here. Whereas before, she would, like, rush out.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like now she's confronted by him, because before he wasn't telling her, like, hey, you gotta leave. It was just more, she got it before he came out of the shower sort of thing. But then this time, like, he came out of the shower and was like, you need to get out of here, you know, before your sister sees you, right? So she's, like, faced again with the reality of what she had done, you know, and that she has to keep reliving this horrible thing she did every single morning. So she, like, refuses to talk to Andy about the previous night. And, like, they had this really nice sort of, like, moment, too, where it was like, I think I love you, etc. sort of thing. So he's like, oh, maybe this can, like, turn into something. Like, she's giving me, like, this reason to live and look forward to within the time loop. If it's just us two.
I called it.
Yeah, he's like, if it's just us two.
Us two.
Now I'm not suffering from the nihilism as much anymore. I have something to look forward to. I can, like, you know, she and I can have this nice life together, right? Like, you've given me a reason to live, basically. But now Sarah is like, no, this isn't gonna work. Like, I can't keep waking up to, like, the worst moments of my life, basically, where I'm betraying my sister and, you know, doing this horrible stuff, right? So she kind of goes back to, like, the nihilism thing and is like, I gotta get out of this loop. They get pulled over by Roy, J.K. Simmons, who's disguised as a cop, and she runs him over. And she's like, fuck you. And then, and he's like, whoa, what's going on? So they're arguing. And then Niles admits that he had previously had sex with Sarah several times before the loop. So now Sarah's, like, even more angry, and he's like, oh, but, like, now I care, like, I care about you, but before, and it's like he's not making his argument anybody, right?
Yeah.
So now she's kind of left, and she's like, I'm getting out of here. If you're not going to help me get out of here, then fine, but I am going to get out of here, right? I'm going to find a way to get out of this thing. So she's, like, out there studying quantum physics and everything because she has all the time in the world to figure it out. She becomes, like, an expert. She goes to, like, the lecture halls and everything. She's reading as much as she can, right? And Niles is moping and, like, you know, whatever. But then he also discovers that Sarah had an affair with the groom, right? With Abe. So he's like, oh, okay, now I understand, sort of thing. I think he, like, witnesses her running out of the room or something like that, or whatever. Or no, it was a perfume thing, I think. Like, she has a specific, like, shampoo smell or something like that, and then he smelled it on Niall, or on Abe or something like that, and that's when he was like, oh, you, like, now I understand why, you know, why she's wants to get out of this, right? Because she wants to move on from this. So then one day, Niles decides to, like, skip the wedding, and he visits Roy in his home in Irvine. And he's talking to him, and, like, Roy's having, like, this barbecue with his family, and it's like, again, he's living the same day over and over and over again with his family. And his kids are really young, and he's like, I never get to see them grow up, but, which is devastating because they're so young, but at the same time, everything is kind of perfect right now, so I'm trying to just make peace with what I do have with them and just appreciate it, right? Like, if this is my lot in life, there's worse lots in life. If this is purgatory, there's worse purgatory, sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
So then those two kind of reconcile, and Roy's like, yeah, I'm gonna stop killing you, because after a while it's like, it's not making me feel any better, I just gotta, like...
No, yeah, and then that becomes repetitive.
Exactly. It's like, I'm just gonna deal with it. I'm just gonna live with being the best dad ever in this moment, if this is all I get, right? So then finally Sarah's like, she's been experimenting and stuff and, like, sending things into the loop or whatever, and then she realizes, she thinks that if you blow yourself up in the cave, you will exit the time loop. So she tells Niles this. I don't remember if she tells him in person or calls him or whatever, but she tells Niles, like, hey, this is how we can get out of here. We can blow ourselves up and then we'll get out. But he's like, but I love you. Can we just stay in this time loop together forever? And there's this kind of thing about, like, in the time loop, nothing changes. It's predictable. Only you and I, like, we have all the agency. Because everything is predictable, we can be what we want to be, right? But then if we exit the time loop, then what happens, right? We don't know what will happen tomorrow, sort of thing, right? And I'm like, this is such good philosophy and just, like, thinking about life and the anxieties of, like, the adult experience and existing today, right? It's just such a good exploration of all of that, right? What would you do if you were in this situation? Sort of thing.
But eat for another hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Which makes sense for his character, because his character seems to be, like, directionless in general, and, like, you know, like, he knows he has, like, a loveless relationship. He doesn't know what's after that, right? But then he has, like, love in here. But then for her, she's like, I have all this guilt I can't process past because I keep reliving it over and over. No. So she's like, I'm gonna escape whether you come with me or not. So she goes to the wedding, like, one last time. She gives this beautiful speech to her sister. And I think she, like, looks at Abe and is like, you better take care of her. You better. Like, don't hurt her. Like, I'm serious. I will fuck you up if you hurt her. And he's like, oh, yeah. You know, because she knows, obviously. So then she goes to the cave with explosives. And then Niles decides to change. He suddenly changes his mind, and he runs over to the cave to leave with her. And he's like, you know what? I'd rather die with you in an explosion than remain in the loop alone. Because that's the other thing. He's like, how do you know this will work? Like, we might just die, but can we just stay in the loop? And she's like, no, trust me. So then he's like, okay. So she's like, okay, I love you too. They kiss in the cave, and then she presses the detonator. And then we see them the next day relaxing in the pool of the neighbor house. And then the family comes back, and they're like, hey, this is private property. What are you doing? So then they're like, oh, it worked. It's the next day. It's November 10th. The family came back. And that's how the movie ends. And then there's a mid-credit scene where J.K. Simmons, like, he received a voicemail from Sarah explaining how to get out of it. And he, like, approaches Niles at the wedding. He's like, hey, did you get, like, a voicemail from Sarah? Like, what do you think? And Niles is like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, you know, whatever. And then that's when Roy is like, oh, they did get out of it. I'm the only one in here, so now I can get out of it too. Oh, okay. So that's how the movie ends.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Thoughts?
My thoughts. Okay. So I guess interesting. I'm glad I know all of these beats, because I think I would have been nervous for a lot of it.
Yeah.
I think for me, what I don't like about time loops is because oftentimes there is the point in the movie where they're like, well, I don't care anymore, so I'm gonna do whatever, and that to me makes me anxious. Where I'm like, you're gonna do something embarrassing or something that I'm not gonna be able to handle. Mm-hmm. So thank you for just telling me the things I can't handle.
Yeah.
Because, and honestly, when you told me the twist, I shook it.
You really were. That was the most shook I've ever seen you for, like, a plot twist that we've talked about. Because it's shocking, but it makes sense. It's like,
yeah.
Oh, it's like the final puzzle piece. It was great. Yeah.
Yeah, I think once I saw the trailer, I more or less nailed it. Mm-hmm. Nailed it. So yeah, that's good to know. I like that the ending is open. Mm-hmm. Again, it's like, I don't need to really know what goes on beyond this. Like, I just need to know they succeed.
Yes, exactly.
Because I think really that's sort of the point. Mm-hmm. Is like, it's not always necessarily like, we learned a lesson so much as like, well, I mean, the lesson they learned was that, like, you know,
yeah,
you need to exist. You can't just exist to live. You have to live your life in order to exist. Whatever.
The existence is what you make of it. You live life how you
like
want to live it.
Yeah, exactly. And then also, it's better when you have someone who you can talk to and relate to and be, like, cool with.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I get sounds like a good solid movie. Mm-hmm. I'm usually not into, like I said, time loops.
Neither am I. I usually hate time travel as like a plot device.
I love time travel,
really?
but I don't like time loop. Back to the Future
I
is
guess
like my
that's true.
favorite. Quantum Leap is one of my favorite shows. That involves science and history. But yeah, but I don't know. Time loops again. They just make me nervous.
Yeah.
Maybe because I would be completely nervous in a time loop. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. They also had this bit, because I mentioned they got high in the desert and were like, yeah, you know, this place used to be like an ocean and dinosaurs used to live here. I think technically the last scene is like you see like these CG dinosaurs walking around. I think that's the last scene. Like there's a scene like that. I don't know if it's when they're high or if it's at the very end, but it's like the dinosaurs, they're walking in the desert, which is like, I don't know what the point of this is. I don't know. I think it's like a time connection thing, right? Like in the past and in the present and the future, like time is an illusion, whatever. But yeah, normally I've talked about this. I don't like time travel and non-linear storytelling that is dependent on time travel because it only works because we were watching something linearly 9 out of 10 times. That said, the Lilia episode of Agatha All Along does I'm just gonna say it does fifth dimensional, like a non-linear experience of time extremely well. That is like the best example I've ever seen of that in like any medium. Like it was very Slaughterhouse-5, but like made sense because Slaughterhouse-5, I was like, what is happening? None of this makes sense. I don't understand it. I just can't wrap my head around the concept. But this was very like clear, easy to understand, and an incredible piece of television. And in terms of time loops, I think this movie does it really well, and I think How to Live Safely in a Science Fictional Universe by Charles Wu does it really well too. Those are the only two examples of time travel, time loop, whatever, so far that I really enjoy because the rules make sense to me. Yeah. Like here the rules are like whatever. It's makeup rules. What matters is that what she thinks will get them out is like not testable and it's a big leap of faith, right? So that's like, and he's saying Andy Samberg's character is very hesitant because it's trust, right? And you're also trusting the person to make a leap. But like it's a metaphor for lots of different things. So, and I like watching because these two characters represent very different ways of looking at things, and they kind of go through different phases of nihilism and wait, no, I have a point to living again, and et cetera, et cetera. And this movie came out in 2020, and it was probably in production like 2018, 2019. And I just feel like it's very relevant nowadays. I think there's a lot of existential woe and ennui among people. It feels very much like for people our generation and younger who feel maybe very aimless or don't know what they want to do in life and whatever, or are afraid of change, or you know, maybe make mistakes and don't know how to move on from it. And it's like you move on by moving forward, you know, like that's all you can do, and moving forward with other people, like what you said, that you can connect with. So I think it's just a good movie, and it's a good story, and the writing is excellent too, because again, when you watch it again, like the opening scene, it's like, oh, this still makes sense. Like it makes sense either way, of like this is just him versus he's experienced this day a million times and he knows she's going to cheat on him, so that's why he feels so disinterested in his girlfriend, right? So yeah, fun movie.
Okay.
Yep. What rating would you give this film?
Maybe a 3 out of 5.
Ooh. Would you watch this movie?
I might.
It's a good plane movie. I didn't watch it on a plane, but it would be good for a plane.
It does seem like a good plane movie.
Yeah. I would give this movie 4.5 stars out of 5. I think I actually rated
4.5 stars out of 5.
I really like this movie. I think
Wow.
I know. High praise. Let's see what I wrote in my planner. How many stars I gave this thing. I gave it 5 out of 5 in my planner. Yeah. So
you wrote it down.
I wrote it down in my
5 out of 5.
5 out of 5. So if you've watched Palm Springs, let us know what you think. I feel like as the holidays come, people get sad and feel older and like they haven't accomplished as much. And Palm Springs tells you life is what you make of it. So take that into the holidays, I guess. Monze.
Is this how you're trying to connect
this
it
is
to
my
our
spin.
holidays?
This is my spin. Anyways, Monze, where can they find us?
Where can they find us? You can find us at We Don't Watch Movies Pod on Instagram.
Hey.
Or you can find me on Instagram at Magic Monster. I forgot.
I saw that thought leave. Okay, you can find me at Korean is Korean on Instagram.
I went into it so well. I'm so mad.
It's okay. Anyways, thank you for listening. I don't know if there will be an episode next week, but if there is, yay. If not, wait for the next week after that. Anyways.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you guys next time.